How is A Puzzlement from The King and I built? Shalom, I'm David Benkoff, the Broadway Maven. The Broadway Maven is a vibrant educational community that offers 5 to 15 classes and other expert-led experiences every month for just $18. Get a free month with no obligation between now and December 31st. Learn more at the end of the video. Here's Juilliard Professor Edward Barnes on The King and I.
The king himself. So that's why I wanted to look at this song called A Puzzlement. So what has happened is he's introduced his family, then there's a scene where he has with his son, and then basically the king is left alone on stage. And it's the first time we sort of figure out who is this guy, and what's his deal, what's his story. And Oscar Hammerstein, instead of saying, oh, the whole backstory, he positions this guy as coming at a point in time where he recognizes that his country must modernize, and he is torn between the old way of doing things and these new ways. And of course, Anna is that one little ringer that's come in there is going to try to kind of push him forward into modern times. So what Oscar decided to do was create a scene of puzzlements. In other words, quandaries this guy has. And let me show you, there are 6 of them. This is a whole big scene. It's close in this opera as it comes to, or opera, in this musical as it comes to opera. It's a fully dramatized and sung through scene. And the king goes through these 6 puzzlements that I call them quandaries, things he's confused about, back and forth. So the first one is he's confused about what he was taught versus what he knows now. The second one is he was confused about what he should now teach his son, considering what he knows now. The third puzzlement, he was confused about what how his father ruled. Was that the right way or the wrong way, considering what he knows now? The fourth one is he is confused about the best way he should rule. What should he do in his position now with alliances and all those kind of things? And the fifth one is that he recognizes that everybody in the world is confused, and that in itself is a puzzlement. And then the sixth one is no matter how confused he personally is, he must go forward, live on, and lead. And that itself is a puzzlement, because how could a confused person be the leader? But that's what he sets up. And so Oscar basically fleshes these out, and they are done in a back and forth sort of manner musically. So this is the way Richard Rodgers treats this information. So this is basically A and B. A is in yellow and B is in green. And the scene then musically just flips back and forth between these A and B's for each puzzlement, and he stays with the A at the end. The sixth puzzlement, though, he goes bonkers musically with it totally. And the lyrics as well are about being mad and being crazy, and the world is crazy, and Richard Rodgers does his best to be just as crazy musically. Richard Rodgers also does a very fun thing, which we'll see when we hear it with the line. He suspends one note. At first it's the word no, and by the end of the scene, he's doing that, flipping it up and down and up and down, and having the king go crazy doing this one little vocal feat that he's created. I wanted, though, before we listen to it, to look at a couple things. We haven't talked about some of what Oscar does as a lyricist. Beyond his ability to pinpoint precise thought and be so super clear, he does amazing things inside of lines. This is one of the puzzlements right from the beginning, where he says, there are times I almost think I am not sure of what I absolutely know. Very often find confusion in conclusion I concluded long ago. In my head are many facts that, as a student, I have studied to procure. In my head are many facts of which I wish I was more certain I was sure. There are so many things going in here, and I'm just going to show you a few of them. First of all, the easy ones are the outside rhymes, know and ago, procure, and sure. Okay, that's easy because most quatrains end with that. What's really fun in here are some of the inside things he's doing. Let me show you. The first one is an inside rhyme, confusion and conclusion. This also has an alliteration with C's, confusion, conclusion, concluded. And what I especially like is something he sets up between these two. He takes the verb conclude and uses the noun version of it, conclusion, ahead of it. So the noun followed by the verb. If you look one line down, he does it again. Student and studied. So not only does he get this grammatical usage by using one word in multiple different ways, he also gets alliteration between the ST and student and studied sounds. So he gets all kind of fodder out of this material by doing that. Now look at this bottom line. In my head are many facts of which I wish I was more certain I was sure. www, which wish, it's very hard. Which wish was through there. Really, really brilliant inside work. And I especially like this idea that he uses of using the noun and the verb of something. A lot of poets and a lot of lyricists would make sure those were different because difference is considered colorful variance and you don't want to overuse the same word. Instead, what he does is use different forms of the same word. He also minimizes the complication of these lines by using phrases that are used the same. In my head are many facts. In my head are many facts. So he doesn't overly sort of use too much verbiage in the whole thing. Very, very clever. One more I want to look at, similar to
I
that.
like how if you stop and slow down, it makes a lot of sense. This is
Oh, yeah.
a wise stanza, but it's also confusing, so it works with the message that he's trying to give.
Absolutely. And that's partly what's fun about it. And then he's using kind of broken English. It's not that broken, but it's a little bit broken. He leaves some things out. But yeah, he's saying that, I almost think, I am not sure of what I absolutely know. Very often find confusion in conclusion I concluded long ago. I mean, if you think about what he's saying, it takes you a minute to almost catch up to it. But it's very, very, very clever. Very, very clever. Down here is a really cool one. I like this one a lot. Shall I join with other nations in alliance? If allies are weak, am I not best alone? If allies are strong with power to protect me, might they not protect me out of all I own? Is a danger to be trusting one another. One will seldom want to do what other wishes, but unless someday somebody trusts somebody, there'll be nothing left on earth except fishes. This was so true back then. You have to remember that this is just post atom bomb, a restructuring of New World Order in the early 1950s. And these issues were very much on everyone's mind. So while they might have been contemporary to this king in the 1860s, they are totally contemporary in 1951. And I think what's really amazing is how relevant they are today. I mean, this stuff is absolutely true and current with what's going on. Musically, as I said, it's going to go back and forth between an A and a B. And the way he has to work at Richard Rodgers is to build this all up to some sort of big dramatic ending. And he does that by going crazy at the end with the vocal line and making sure it ends up super high and sort of nuts and all that sort of thing. And ultimately, you learn a lot about what this guy's situation is. He addresses all his predicaments, all his puzzlements, and the things he's worried about. And ultimately, we're left with an understanding of who he is and why we should care about him and recognize the kind of position he's in, because all of us go through puzzlements in life. And his are maybe from the king's standpoint, but they're very much about father to son, about learning, about moving on, about being modern versus old-fashioned. They're all those kind of puzzlements.
So the normal word would be puzzle as opposed to puzzlement, right? So
Yes.
he's dressing it up, possibly because of the language barrier, but also he has a tendency towards trying to sound highfalutin when he can, and therefore puzzlement sort of fits that language.
Yes, and they were looking for words, or Oscar was looking for words that would be particular to his character. So he picks up on little things. He makes up this word puzzlement. Really, it's quandary or confusion, however you want to say it in English. We know exactly what he means because in English we make, another noun out of full of puzzleness is puzzlement. You can do all that, and it's very fun that way. But yes, and I also saw a question that just popped up on the screen chat. How was the music approach to accommodate it? That's a very good question, and what you'll hear is repetitive words. So he uses struck seconds intervals, 1, 2, da dum 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 dum, and trying to hit the same note a lot. Because if you have to spit a lot of words out, you can't be popping around on a million different notes. No one would understand it, and it would be almost impossible for the performer to do. So he tends to use the same note over and over again a lot, and then accentuate when it jumps. So you'll see in the line where he sings no, he'll sing no, and that's the jump. And he'll make a big deal out of it. Then it's back again. Very step oriented. And it was all done exactly to accommodate what Oscar Hammerstein had set up. In other words, it is a setting of Oscar's words. And it's definitely, you'll hear, he's not as interested in writing a great big tune as he is in getting these words across. And that makes it even more operatic because the idea is to set it musically to convey the text versus try to create a memorable melody out of it in any way. And he's always aiming for the end, always aiming for the end. And it just flips back between A, B, A, B. It is not like a recitative. No, it is a true, much more like an aria. A recitative would be as if you stop. Bum 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 bum. And no. You give gaps and you do it more like spoken and you punctuate. This is completely accompanied, and you'll have that kind of sound. So it's definitely through written. And what he does, it's closer actually to a vaudevillian romp. In vaudeville, if you want to show virtuosity, you start moderately in time, you build in speed, and then you pull back and you do something very, very slow so that when you start up again, it sounds even faster. An example of that, if you know On the Town, and you know the scene where he gets in the cab driver and he's following his guidebook and the cab driver's going around. She's going, come up to my place, come up to my place. And it's very fast, and all of a sudden the brakes go on and it jerks. And it goes very, very slow. That's how you do it in vaudeville. You go slow way down, and then when she steps on the gas pedal again, and by the end it goes crazy. This is exactly like that. It's the exact same structure. Go very fast, drive your cab, pull way back, consider it. Then he goes fast again. My father taught me this, my father taught me that. What do I tell my son? By the end, he's going very, very fast, and then he just goes crazy with his car and goes driving. So it's much more like vaudeville that way, but in the arc of a big aria, so that it has a big peak ending, and it's very calculated vocally. So it goes by steps, and then by the end, he goes way up high. So it's actually not that hard to sing. It's so well written.
Terrific. Did you want me to play some more?
Yeah. Let's play this one.
I'll play this song. Okay.
Yeah.
When I was a boy, world was better spot. What was so, what was not. Now I am a man, world have changed a lot. Some things nearly so, others nearly not.
Here's the first one.
There times I almost think I am not sure of what I absolutely know.
Same note.
Very often find confusion in conclusion I concluded long ago.
Jump.
In my hand are many facts that as a student I have studied to procure. In my head are many facts of which I wish I was more certain I was sure.
Pull back.
Puzzlement. What
Slow now.
tell a growing son? What, for instance, shall I say to him of women?
This is the B section.
Shall I educate him on the ancient lines? Shall I tell the boy as far as he is able to respect his wives and love his concubines? Shall I tell him every one is like the other, and the better one of two is really neither? If I tell him this, I think he won't believe it, and I nearly think I don't believe it either.
Fast again.
When my father was a king, he was a king who knew exactly what he knew.
Slide.
And his brain was not
No, 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 no.
swinging to and fro and fro and to. Shall I then be like my father and be willfully unmovable and strong? Or is better to be right, or am I right when I believe I may be wrong? Shall I join
Back
with
again.
other nations
Slow.
in alliance? If allies are weak, am I not best alone? If allies are strong with power to protect me, might they not protect me out of all I own? Is a danger to me trusting one another? One will seldom want to do what other wishes, but unless someday somebody trusts somebody, there'll be nothing left on earth excepting fishes.
Fast. This is the
There
A.
are times I almost think nobody's sure of what he absolutely knows. Everybody find confusion in conclusion he concluded long ago. And it puzzled me to learn that though a man may be in doubt of what he knows, very quickly will he fight, he'll fight to prove that what he does not know is so.
Now he goes. The slides.
Sometimes I think that people going mad. Sometimes I think that people not so bad. But no matter what I think, I must go on living life as a leader of my kingdom. I must go on. Be father to my children and husband to each wife, etc., etc., and so forth. If my Lord in heaven would have show the way, every day I try to live another day. If my Lord in heaven would have show the
Same
way,
note.
every day I do my best for one more day.
Here comes the big one.
What is a puzzlement?
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Shalom, I'm David Benkoff, the Broadway Maven. The Broadway Maven is a vibrant educational community that helps its members think more deeply about musical theater. Every month, members may attend 5 to 15 classes and other expert-led Broadway experiences, all for just $18. Get 1 month free if you sign up as a member between now and December 31st. There's a membership link in the description. And here's another King and I video.